It's taking like a full shift of just talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way to ease back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That way every podcast after this feels like nothing.
Cool.
Missed you. Yeah?
I bet you did. I'm sunshine.
Yeah. You opened it. You just lied to me.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Been overwhelmed, basically. Very overwhelmed, very stressed out. A lot going on. Let's see. Open up the chat bar on the side and see how that works, because this is new setup, new all kinds of stuff. So you though, I mean, we'll get to me in a moment, but I want to make sure you're doing all right.
Is this a capo?
Yeah, it is. It's a circus caper. Like if there's somebody murdered at the circus, is how you discover who did it.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. It's like a dowsing rod. But
dowsing? It's a douching rod?
A douching rod, but it tells you which clowns were the douchiest and which ones killed the good guy or whatever.
I like it.
I do too. Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm doing fine.
You're doing fine.
Yeah, I've been tired. I've been running on fumes, it feels like, a lot lately.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, you've been...
It's been really draining, you know? It's been very draining. And then just a couple of situations that have been not just time-consuming, but very, very strong emotionally.
Yeah?
Yeah, a couple of situations like that. So...
Is it something we get to discuss tonight, or is it something that you're still sort of processing, something you're still trying to figure out?
It's something I actually don't think I can.
Totally fair.
Yeah,
totally
I don't
fair.
think I can.
No, that's no problem.
At some point, maybe, but
Sure.
At this point, I don't think I can talk about it because it's legality involved.
Sure. No, absolutely. That's always the thing is, yeah, lots of stuff.
Yes,
lots of
I
stuff.
do.
And it wears. I can't even imagine how much it wears.
A lot. I've been dealing so much with CYFD. So much.
I've heard a lot of things from several friends and people who have been associated with them through like adoption. A friend of ours whose own child, not hers now. It's it was adopted, but like there's a lot that goes on that stresses her out frequently. I see lots of posts come up about it, and I can't even imagine the frustration involved.
Yeah. So, and the organization itself, I mean, they do the best, but it's one of those things where, I mean, I've heard a lot of people complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
CYFD doesn't do this right. They don't do this right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. Like, we had the Victoria Martin thing happen in, some weeks back, and there was that discussion about how CYFD had been involved some months prior and all of that. And, it's kind of, in some ways, I feel like it's not really my place or our place to so much point out all the negatives about an entity that only deals with negative.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little bit, unless you've really been in it, really been working in it, and really had those doors slammed in your own face of how much I can do for this kid, and you feel like your hands are tied. I mean, unless you've really been there, I don't know that you really know,
That's true. It's, again, a recurring theme is there's usually only your own angle that you consider things from. And, there's all sides to something, and it complicates a lot of responses.
Yeah. And I think that humans have this addiction to being able to label something as good, gooder, goodest, bad, badder, baddest.
Yeah.
That's the baddest.
Yeah. There's a scale.
There's the most badness in that company, but there's the most goodness now. We just have this need to like categorize, like put everything in a kind of order.
Sure.
And I think that that's one of the things, having been working with CYFD a lot lately, I've had that feeling of, like where I'm talking to somebody or I'm meeting with a case manager or something, and I'm like, do you care? But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, good thing you don't, because it would kill you if you cared this
That
much
might be
for
true.
all 10 cases you dealt with today.
All
you know,
difficult, completely
Yeah.
all over the place.
And I don't know so much that it's a not care as much as it is there's got to be some level of insulation
Yeah.
that you use. And that's what's been really difficult about this job for me, which is not a bad thing in any way, but learning a different type of insulation
Sure.
working with kids.
Yeah, what's your threshold and how
What's
much on
my
top
threshold?
of that?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because it's been a really long time since I've, gone home at night in tears. I've been working with adults forever, and that my belief in empowerment is so strong there. So this has been a really interesting, thing for me to crack my mind into a better alignment about as well, because I can't just afford to, look at every child, as helpless, hopeless. I can't do that.
Yeah, right.
So it's just a different way of having to kind of configure my concept of my work. It's different with kids.
Yeah. It changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's weird because there's something about like this sort of this aura right now, this energy, and what it makes me think of is 8 years ago when we first started hanging out and talking. I think you were more in line with situations where you were dealing with like adolescent situations, and I kind of feel that same sort of vibe from this in terms of like it's a different ball game.
Well, and I was working at the child psychiatric hospital at the time, and in a lot of ways that felt I felt more hopeful about some of those situations because they were 24/7 at the facility. So there wasn't, it could be regulated if dad started yelling at him in a visit or something. You know what I mean? Like, bye. We had the capacity to be able to give the best environment we possibly could, and that's not how this is at all whatsoever. There's no, I can't go home with any of them. I can't change the patterns dating back in someone's life for years and years and years. But what's been really cool about it in a way too is it's given me a different perspective on, and this sounds so obvious maybe, but for all my clients that are adults, I don't know that I've ever actually sat and conceptualized you were a little.
Yeah.
You used to be a little.
At one point, you were a child.
Conceptual, obviously, duh. I know that semantically.
Yeah.
But how much have I really, allowed myself to see that?
One of the most interesting things, and I'm going to interrupt you real quick, as I do. This is so quick.
I wasn't in the middle of a sentence. You kind of took a good turn. That was right. That was good.
This is how it's done, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you do it. Anyway, I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay. Do you remember in Breaking Bad, you had the Salamanca twins? These two, like, arguably the most terrifying characters in the show.
Yeah.
They were just cold machines that had one mission, and they just went as the crow flies, basically, to complete this mission. They were just hell-bent on whatever it was they had to do, they would do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanity. And at one point, there was, like, I think, like, a flashback maybe before one of the episodes began or in the middle of an episode where they were hanging out with Tio Salamanca, the wheelchair-bound one later, but they were both kids. And their experience, they were playing in the yard, having their fun, doing their thing, and at one point, one of them like yelled at the other, I wish you were dead. They just brotherly fighting. Yeah. They came over and
I remember that.
The uncle grabbed one of them, stuck his head in a cooler full of ice, and was like, do you want me to, do you want to stop this? Do you want him to die? And like did something that, this is the background, this is a history, this is something that began to create. And who knows any of these people, what created, what was planted, what was given to them, what was provided, what was their environment that caused it, because somewhere down the road it happened. That purity went somewhere,
Got introduced to some other agents.
Right, absolutely. And it complicates things. Maybe, some for better, some for worse, but it just, it begins somewhere. It begins through somebody or something, some means.
Another thing, too, I find really interesting about that is I don't know how often we really actually stop and look at ourselves that way.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little, because we've had some conversations on here about you and when you were growing up that you're like, huh, yeah,
sure.
We all kind of have that where if we tell our story to somebody or our childhood or something like that, where it all to get a different perspective or to see somebody's response or to see how somebody is affected emotionally by what you tell them kind of gives that different, wow, I guess I never thought of that as traumatic, or wow, I never really thought of that as such a blessing.
Right.
Where those unawarenesses can be there.
Right.
I think we have that for ourselves as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting to think about.
Yeah, it is, huh?
How complex are we? All people.
Like a level 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like 7.
Wow.
7 complexes.
We have 7 complexes?
Yeah,
Everybody has 7 different ones?
7 of the complexity.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good.
I'm touching it. I feel like Larry.
You're exploring constantly. Yeah, that's like a Chinese man corkscrew. Yeah. If you want to open up wine with a Chinese dude's wiener. Yeah. Like, that's how you do it. Yeah.
If you ever had that need.
Yeah, I don't even have wine in my house. I don't drink wine, and so it's weird.
Yeah, where'd you get this?
From friends. They were moving, and they gave that to me.
That's great.
It is. It's kind of cool. It's a good conversational piece.
Yeah, it's a neat one.
Yeah. One thing that I was thinking of, and this is sort of what I sort of themed tonight, was we've both been overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of stuff going on. I'm actually taking a hiatus from Facebook.
I love those.
Oh, right now, yeah, and I mean, because I'm shutting it off almost entirely. I had to open up a separate one that is strictly to keep the ability to network for the Gamers Anonymous page, to be an admin for our community page, and to receive and answer questions through the actual official pages. Okay. So I have to exist there.
Why is this?
Why am I taking a break? It's tricky. It's tricky. It's not like that one specific thing or like one person or anything of the sort. But I find that there's 2 major components to this. Number one is information overload. And I find myself constantly at the whim of Facebook is there, things are happening, I need to know about it.
Yeah.
I don't need to know about it, but I feel the need to know about it. And that's one thing I want to cut off entirely. I do want to know about how all my friends are doing. I would love to know and see what is happening in the lives of everybody that I'm involved with. I love it. But it's a time sink. And right now, with October being arguably the slowest month of the financial year, I need to make sure that I'm concentrating completely on everything I can do for my store entirely.
Okay.
Number 2, and this is a big one, is that there is a lot of personal demand for attention through the messaging system, which happens constantly. And it's not because I don't want to talk to people, don't want to answer, don't want to help people out, but it gets to a point where I've spread myself so thin trying to help people with dozens of issues across days and weeks of requests. I got to the point where I was like, I can't keep track of all of this in any way. And some of them are fun and frivolous and people don't mind. Some of them are a little bit more like, well, you have experience there. Can you do this for me? And then a lot of them actually have to do with the store, which is I'll get a message at 1 a.m. saying, hey, do you guys have any PS2s? I don't know. I'm at home. I'm not at work. I don't want to be working.
Yeah.
And I don't fault anybody because it's a big honor to me that people request and they know.
Well, that's why we have those vehicles. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
It's for that kind of accessibility. That's why Facebook. That's why Twitter.
Precisely.
That's what they exist for.
That convenience.
Yeah.
And so already I've been minimizing my presence on Facebook. A couple things here and there. And I'm getting ready October 1st, just to be like, okay, cool. That page is deactivated for now entirely. If you need to get a hold of me, call my shop. Come see me, throw me a phone call. Like, there are ways to get a hold of me.
So it limits there's book-ended times that you're...
Basically, yeah. If you want to make me available, that way when I get home, I get to concentrate on me and my stuff and the things, because I have a lot of stuff to catch up on too. And with all the infinite requests, which people aren't aware of because I don't publicly like throw all the stuff out there, it's easier for me just to say, hey guys, give me a sec. I'm going to spend at least a month doing this. If necessary, I'll do it for longer. But at the very least, I want to spend 1 full month just being like catching up and prioritizing. Not even want to play video games. I want to get the stuff done that I have to get done. If I get done early, cool. We'll see if I want to ease back into it. But it's just been a ton of different things that I'm trying to do. And I've caught up on a handful of them already, but there's still tons more to do. And I just needed to say, I'll be back. I'll be with you guys soon. That's all it was. So it wasn't like anything dire. It wasn't any sort of like personal crisis, but just feeling myself getting so overwhelmed to the point where I stress myself to sickness. And I don't do that often. I get stressed a lot, but I stress myself and I was getting ill. And it was just my call to step away.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it sometimes felt like I wasn't doing things well. And I didn't want to do things not well. I didn't want to spread myself so thin that I couldn't,
Let me say something.
Yes, please.
So you started to get physically ill.
Mm-hmm.
It started to manifest in a physical form.
Right.
What I find really interesting too is speaking of unawarenesses of our own self,
mm-hmm.
how much discomfort and stress we're willing to tolerate
mm-hmm.
before it like takes us to our knees.
Yeah. It's
and how interceptable our diseases are.
Oh yeah, completely. I could have caught this a month and a half ago and been like, oh, we're good. Let me just do this now.
Yeah.
And instead I waited until it was like the last second,
Yeah.
I was standing in the metaphorical shower, grabbing my boob and going, there's a lump.
Yep.
I don't know if that's what it's like. I don't think so. But yeah, it is interesting to think about it. Every year this sort of happens. So it's funny that I didn't put the perspective to preempt it a little bit better.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I tend to do this. It's like a cyclical thing. Interesting.
Well, it's good to see you. And as always, I'm so grateful for the space that we allow each other.
I am too. Because I've been talking to you sort of very briefly off and on for the past several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And you, to my knowledge, have just been like...
Yeah.
Over encumbered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this comes... So is our topic like a self-care thing?
Kind of. I mean, we'll free flow as we do, but I really wanted to stress to people again that like it's okay to have difficulty. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have things together. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to like not have it together.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm at right now. I don't feel like I have everything together I need to.
Well, it's okay to not get to the point where you don't have it together. It's okay to take care of yourself every step along the way,
mm-hmm.
so that you're maintaining and sustaining your own balance,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's kind of where I come from. I mean, I haven't been like in some kind of terrible state or anything like that. But I do know when my system is like, this isn't, I don't have it to give.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I don't have it, I just don't try to.
That's good. I'm glad. You were actually very upfront with me regarding, I texted you, I think like a week ago, and I said something, I was like, hey, what are you doing? And you're just like, I don't have this to give right now. I was like, cool.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I like that. To me, that is the most respectful thing you could possibly do is be like, oh, I'm not here for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't find any harm in that. I don't find any, like, if I was on the take, of course I'd get upset.
Sure.
But because I understand the proximity that you need to do what you do, the last thing I wanted was to be like, oh, well, fine, being such an asshole to me, why don't you give me time?
Yeah.
I want you to have, if you need another 2 months, I want you to have 2 months.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm actually very thankful you were able to make it tonight. Just because I wanted to see you, and I like, this whole thing very much. And it's good for me, and I think it's going to be a good refresher for me to go into October with the sort of new mindset, because it feels very big to me. It feels like a really large step.
Cool.
It is, yeah. Like, it feels like I'm actually saying goodbye to some folks, because I know some people are out of town, and some people don't get a chance to come to the store. So it's an interesting sort of like farewell for now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a really good response from everybody. And that actually was a really great thing to say.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, tonight I do have it to give.
And I like that. I'm very thankful that you do.
Yay.
I love being around you.
I love you too.
I love you so much. You have no idea. I want you to pass away one day when, the time is right.
Right.
I don't know the circumstance. I don't know what's going to happen or when it's going to happen, how old you're going to be, but just someday I want you to.
I'm so relieved it's going to happen.
I want you to end.
I want you to.
Yeah. But I want you to end under the pretense that you've done everything you felt you needed to do.
Well, I guarantee, I promise you, I will end.
Great.
Great.
They're great. Yeah, thank goodness. I know. So yeah, wipe the sweat off my brow. I was afraid you're going to be immortal, and like, what am I going to do? Because like, You know,
That just like takes so much off my shoulders.
I'm sitting here on my deathbed, and you're just walking around, and I'm just, you know.
Get out of here.
No, I don't want you to die, but you're going to. I'm sorry to tell you.
No, the point of life is death, isn't it? For all of us, we're all going the same place, you know. And I think it also, and we don't got to get into this in some kind of major way, but it also really has the meaning to it of whatever you believe happens or whatever you believe death means.
Sure.
You know, death. What does it mean? What does it do? What's the function? Is it a death? Is it an end? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. That's cool to think about as well too, because everybody has a different sort of. Some are afraid, some embrace, some don't even. It doesn't occur. It's just sort of, well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool. There's such a variety in that. Some people celebrate. You know.
Yeah.
How neat. Yeah, death is an incredible thing. Get you a man who can do both, be born and die.
Hey.
Right? Yeah, it's my philosophy.
That's a good one.
You know, choose wisely.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make sure that I check off those criteria. Born.
Yeah.
Will die.
Will die. Or already dead.
That's a great idea.
You have a huge spectrum to choose from if you go that route.
I could have anybody.
You're like, I want a World War II soldier. Done. There's millions of them to choose from.
His name is this, and I feel like this is what he loves about me.
Yeah, exactly. See? That's
and
really...
when I'm feisty, this is how he typically handles
Yeah,
me.
right, exactly. He responds in a way that makes sense to, our relationship.
Yeah. Sometimes he's rude.
Yeah, he'll, if he's in a bad place, if he's still dead, he'll respond poorly.
Sometimes he's not real attentive.
No, he doesn't listen to me. He just talks about his own, problems.
Talks about his own problems.
Yeah, Hitler shot me.
Hitler didn't ever shoot anybody except himself, right?
Maybe it's Hitler.
Maybe. Am I with Hitler?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's what's crazy about this is it could be a lot of people.
It could be.
It could be some blank of Arimathea.
Okay.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't snark me.
I didn't.
I saw your eyes shift. I'm fine. But yeah, like so what I wanted to know, and we'll get into mine shortly, but I wanted to talk to you. When you are feeling this sort of overwhelm, and when you don't have to give, and when you are like, in abundance of, well, I don't even know abundance, just you're overwhelmed with life and this. How do you handle? What is your advice to people who? I mean, you're very tenacious, and you have a really strong sense of how much you can carry and what you can leave behind. But I think it's difficult for a lot of people. It can be difficult for me because I don't even have to end up seeing it until I take on too much. But there are people who just take on and take on and take on. People who don't say no. Mm-hmm. What is your advice to them? What is?
I guess I feel like the first thing that I do when I feel overwhelmed is that to me is a cue that I'm perceiving my responsibility wrong.
Okay.
I'm misperceiving. I'm miscalculating what I can and what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also believe that, there's 24 hours in a day. There's 168 hours in a week. And if I have some kind of expectation on myself to somehow complete 28 hours of life in a 24-hour span, then it's just not logical. It really doesn't even fit anything. So the first thing that I do really is just look at, okay, where am I demanding more of myself than I actually want to give? Because I do believe that overwhelm can only take place when not all of you is giving willingly.
Okay.
Which
is still a choice.
It's a choice, but also what's authentically coming from you doesn't feel like work.
Okay.
No matter how much work it is. If you're really passionate about building structures or something like that, then you can do it all day, every day, and it's energizing. And my work is energizing. And if it's not, that's my cue that there's something I'm doing that I don't actually want to be, or there's something that I'm doing that I'm misunderstanding my role in, or something like that.
This very much falls in line with you saying to you want to be in a constant state of bliss.
Yeah.
To be in constant bliss, to constantly love what you're doing because you're the proprietor of that gift. And overwhelming is choosing to overextend yourself, but it's still a choice of you taking on more than you feel you want to give.
Well, and it's a perception, too. You know, it's also a perception. Like, you know, if I have, well, you've been overwhelmed lately with answering too many people, too many questions at times of the day that are just.
That's definitely been part of it. Yeah.
Well, the reason that can feel overwhelming is because you don't want to. If you wanted that, like, and it made you thrilled every time, there'd be no overwhelm about that.
Sure.
It has a lot to do with your genuine, what are you giving genuinely? It really is. I think overwhelm comes from unbalancing what you are genuinely wanting to give.
I think it's really good to be introspective to the point where you are honest with yourself, because my instinct is to say, no, I want to give all this to people. And I think there's a theoretical that says I do because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But if I'm at a place where I am, you know, like unable to, and I still want to, I'm still choosing to take on a task that I don't currently want to do.
Well, a little bit ago when you were talking about how last week we had that text message conversation and you had asked, okay, what about tonight? And whatever I said was, it wouldn't be coming from a good place for me.
Right.
It wouldn't be good for me.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'm not trying to give to somebody out of a place of, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so resentful, or I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah,
because it's not a kind thing to do for anybody else. You know, nobody's a nuisance.
Yeah.
Nobody's a nuisance. Yeah. And I think that's what's really cool about you just taking a break is I'm feeling like you're a nuisance and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Because you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that are, you know, harmlessly and completely understandably contacting you at, you know, random things, random times.
Right.
Is feeling like too much for you. The kindest thing that you can do is, you know, recategorize where I want you. Yeah.
Somebody had posted a really interesting article about this, and it was somebody who posted an article about being an activist and like the 5 things you should not do to activists. And it was a very honest kind of thing, because it was like, if there's an answer, you should Google it yourself. You don't expect me to provide you with everything. If you want an opinion or an insight, that's one thing, but to demand an explanation of everything was like, oh, well, sure.
Right.
You know? And because it really said, don't give me all the responsibility of everything you need to do. And it was actually really cool. Let me see if I can just pop it up real quick, because it was something very fascinating to me, and I really enjoyed reading it. Because at first I was like, oh, well, you know, this might be something that feels like a little bit, I don't know. I'm just going to find it, and if I can find it, we'll talk about it, because I think it was actually something really good to 5 things your activist friend wants you to stop doing. Okay, activism, tough job. All right. Unknowingly, even sometimes well-meaning, supportive folks add to your exhaustion. And it was a really excellent insight that actually described a lot of what I did. And not that I'm an activist by any means, but I offer something. I offer a service or an understanding or a sanctuary or a comfort for people. I do get people who confide in me fairly often.
Yeah.
But this was actually a really interesting and very pertinent thing to read. Let's see. In the system, we're not considered human being, but products. Sometimes we forget that others have boundaries. We forget that others have feelings and anxieties and deadlines and limits. We have our own needs to be met, and so we forget how to respect others. So we'll go through this real quick. Yeah. Asking questions you can Google, you know, not because I don't want to help you, not because I can't help you, but because if there is a reasonable question that you can answer, can you answer yourself? And this is actually something that I even extend to my employees, is oftentimes when they ask me questions, I'll just ask them a question because they probably have the answer. They just look for a validation. Yeah. Right? Let's see. Doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel to answer a question that folks could simply look up on their own. Let's see. Planning lunch dates so you can pick our brains. Networking should be mutually beneficial, not just a, I need your time. That's being on the take. That is the extension of what can you provide for me because I need something from you, right? So great little article. Expecting homework help and free research. So an entitlement that comes along with, let's see, if you want to interview an expert for a project that you're doing, that's commendable. By all means, you can send those email requests. If we can make time for that work, we will likely acquiesce. But please give us at least a 2-week time frame to schedule the interview, have a backup plan in case we don't. And there's something that instinctively in me feels guilty when somebody requests something, and I certainly want to actually help them, but I get overwhelmed and messages get lost in the shuffle. I'm busy at work, stuff comes up that I don't account for, and it builds up to the point where like something happened so far back, I don't even remember it. And that actually is something that makes me feel super bad, and I want to get away from that right now because when I like to help people and I love to help people, when I have the time to. I hate that I get forgetful and neglectful to the point where I didn't answer a gentleman's question on our Facebook page for something about the store for 5 months. He came in April and had a situation.
Well,
yeah.
Let's reframe this a little bit because you're talking about, and it's accurate. You're not being inaccurate when you say I like to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think an easier way to framework this so that it doesn't feel like you're denying somebody help is to more so look at it as I can't focus on that right now. Where's my focus divided? Rather than help, I'm going to help or I'm not going to help, but I can focus on this, or I don't have the capacity to focus on this.
Yeah.
I think it takes some of the charge out of it a little bit, and because we're taught help everybody.
Yeah.
Put others first. I understand where that comes from, but really what we're doing when we're helping somebody or doing this instead, we're appropriating our attention. And to be intentionally attentional to what you want to is it's the way that we can accomplish anything well. It's the way to best care for somebody or not care for somebody. I mean, to say something to someone that asks you for something like, hey, I will get around to this as soon as I can. I'm totally wrapped up here though mentally.
Yes.
But I heard your question. If I don't get back to you within 3 days, remind me. I'm not trying to be a turd.
Yes.
But my head is somewhere else right now.
Yeah.
I'm not registering very well. I'm not remembering things from yesterday. So just so you know who you're talking to at the moment.
Right.
Like my attention is not at you
right
now. Like
sorry. You really will have to just wait until I'm done with my focus.
And you might have to ask me again.
Yeah, I actually do request that people remind me of stuff a lot because that's something that, especially when it comes like to business relations and important things along those lines. But yeah, getting a constant set of reminders, and I think it's difficult for me because I try to be mindful of people's feelings, and I think I do tiptoe a little bit too much to the point where I need to just be like, I can't.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Yeah.
I cannot give you what I want to give you. I cannot give you what you believe you need from me.
It's kind of, when somebody owns a truck.
Yeah.
How some people are like, I don't want to own a truck because everybody asks.
You obligate yourself to a lot of things.
Right. Then I have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
What's interesting as well is the amount of times that I think like I need a truck to move something and I never think of you. You live 30 seconds walking distance from me and I never think about the fact that you have a bigger truck than anybody I know. So
why?
I don't know. It never occurs to me for some reason. Maybe in my mind, like you still have like your old like bronze, like whatever it was.
It was a Ranger.
Ranger, yeah. Maybe you still have that in my mind. I know you don't, but it never occurs to me. I always think, I wonder if my dad's busy weekend. I never think about asking you for your truck ever, because it never occurs to me that you have a truck. I don't know why, and I know you have that. It's that big Raider, right? That big, gigantic red Raider. It's huge. I can carry anything I've ever needed in a heartbeat, and I never think of you. I forgot that you have a truck.
I have a beautiful truck.
I do like it a lot, actually. It's great. I used to drive it occasionally, and I would drop you off at work.
I don't remember that.
Wow.
I was focused on something.
Yeah, exactly. Focused on being an idiot.
So focused on being a huge moron.
Just a moron, yeah. No,
That's interesting. That is really interesting to me, though. And when you know somebody that provides a certain or works for a certain kind of service, like if they're this person does HVAC or this person does car mechanic. How much you really get to see your boundaries when you're somebody that your work or your stuff for whatever is in demand.
Mhm.
Because nobody actually asked me to borrow my truck.
Interesting.
Nobody asked me.
You feel very unavailable in that regard, and not because I'm sure you wouldn't offer it if somebody like really needed it or you had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that like you don't present yourself in a way that like people instinctively go, "Oh, I bet Michelle will help me with the truck." I just don't think of it. Like it literally does not cross my mind, and not because I think you're going to be like a jerk.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say no.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That
is kind of fascinating to me.
The things that people can provide, and I love providing game stuff, but I want to provide it during a normal time period.
It doesn't surprise me that you say that I don't cross your mind in that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. It looks like it's on. The internet didn't work for a minute.
Right. Okay, did a reset and we should be good.
I wonder when it cut off.
Yeah, it looks like I don't think it was too long.
Okay.
We got the notification pretty recently, so even with a wired connection, no such thing as a sure thing.
Nope.
So we were discussing, God, where were we?
What were we talking about?
People who demand something. You were talking about a family member, and then we were. The world may never know.
Oh no, but I was totally getting into something.
I can try to get like a prompt.
I can't remember it.
Let's see. Okay, apparently now there's lots of echo. Let me do something real quick.
Hmm.
Turn off the internal speaker just in case it's giving us a problem. Okay. Anybody who's watching, I don't know what the last thing that you guys heard was, but I'm curious to see sort of what was understood.
Is the sound okay?
Yeah, he actually had several windows open, so everything should be fine now.
Okay. I don't remember what we were talking about.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the gas gauge,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Isn't that where I was at?
I'm pretty sure you were. And it was something to do with cars or like.
So it's just an analogy that
Okay.
if the tank is empty,
Yes.
it doesn't make sense to commiserate like, oh no, it's over. Go put gas in your car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or stop driving it.
Yeah.
Don't-
There is
don't
a solution.
Just
Yeah.
don't keep driving it. Get gas before you keep driving it. Really. And the way that, and I saw earlier too, I didn't read it really, but I just saw like a line of what you had posted about it, and it said something like it's okay to struggle. I saw that. And on the other side of that coin, it's okay to decide, I'm not going to struggle so hard.
That's, I think, the biggest thing to lead into is, why are you struggling? What do you do to not struggle? Even if it's an answer you think is the wrong answer, it's probably the answer because it gets you to stop struggling. It gets you to stop doing the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines of all time, it's like a classic joke. Guy goes to the doctor.
Oh.
You know? I think
Where's this going?
I'll
My
fight you.
armor, you're going to fight me?
Yeah, I'm going to fight you on top of the bank. Guy goes to the doctor and says, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Doctor says, don't do that. It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's actually that easy is the thing. And we overcomplicate it because we think we're not supposed to, or that we owe this or that or the other thing to a situation or to somebody else or to whatever it is that's not us.
Yeah. What appropriate words it is to just say, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or no.
Yeah. Being a no person, to me, I grew up, I think, with it being like an inherently sort of like bad thing at the time. I know it's not a bad thing, but I think there was always like, if you saying no might hurt somebody else's feelings. But I also very much subscribe to the belief of, in order to, like, if you choose to betray yourself in order to not betray somebody else, that's the highest form of betrayal. That's come up several times. I subscribe to that very heavily. So it's funny to me that saying no does not come easy. I instinctively want to be like, well, yes, I want to do this, and yes, I want to do that, not realizing that I'm not doing it to hurt somebody. I'm not doing it to spite somebody. I'm not doing it to, like, choose malice, but I'm doing it to preserve self so I can do it better when I'm able.
Yeah.
I think I forget to balance that properly, and that's a really big struggle that I'm aware of.
Well, then how do you even know what giving is how do you even know the difference, between, because if you're saying yes to stuff that you don't even want to do, you're actually trying to take something more than anything, which is some kind of approval or some kind of role, or you're more so than anything trying to get something.
Appease somebody else's satisfaction.
Yeah, I need to be seen this way, or I need to feel like I did this. It's actually more of a but maybe insecurity or ego stroker.
Yeah, there's a validation to it. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. That makes a lot of sense, though. You want to manipulate somebody into thinking that you're ready to do something to make them happy when you're not.
Yeah, so you feel bad when you say no. What's an example?
Usually when people ask to hang out, and I've gotten to the point at this point where I'm just like, I don't have time, and it's been great because I was like, I can't. I had somebody say, hey, when you have free time to hang out, I was like, probably next year.
Yeah.
That's what I told them, and he's like, well, if you have time for that, I was like, I probably don't, and it's not because I don't want to, but it's because I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot give that right now. I simply like it does not exist.
Yeah.
And if it changes, people will be notified. But right now, there is no possibility.
That's why I'm a firm believer in running errands together
Mhm.
with somebody. You know, like
Yeah.
I gotta do this and this and this today. You want to tag along?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to go to the bank and I have to do this and I have to do that, like, you want to come with me for an hour? Do you have an hour? Because we can chat and I can still get everything done. I really like doing that.
I also.
Yeah.
We need to actually. I got to find out when your schedule is free, if at all, because I like your company when doing things.
Yeah, it actually wouldn't be that difficult to 30 seconds away knock on each other's doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too.
I know that we both have, I mean, differing schedules, but we have stuff that can coincide, I think, and we can sort of discuss that accordingly. But
and it's funny because I think this is this way for you too, but you're very energizing to me. You're not a drain to hang out with anyway.
No.
Like I'm not less energetic or more tired because I hung out with John for an hour. It's if anything, it's very nutrients providing. I
actually feel the same, yeah. And I'm what I'm trying to do right now too is surround myself with people who also sort of instigate that kind of like it's like a photosynthesis. Their presence alone makes me better.
Yes.
You know, they don't require a thing. They're fun to be around. They're good for me just to coexist with. Yeah.
I had a really good experience today with Dan actually, where he had some really hard things happen today. A family member on their deathbed.
Wow.
He had some things going on today that were really big and really painful and really hard. And a couple other things as well that were just, intensely stressful. And when I spoke to him and sometime in the early evening, he really, really wanted to see me. I just didn't feel like it, and he didn't pressure or do anything weird. He was like, all right, well, call me later. And I could tell, I could hear it, but I didn't feel bad saying no. And within 45 minutes, I felt well enough and self-cared enough that I was like, I want to see him now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That
I wanted
to. Yeah. I mean, it was just sort of my flow. I just, that moment, no.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? That moment, I really couldn't.
It's good to think about as well, too, to realize that if you give somebody that space, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a month out, Yeah. For you, it was 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
Because that was up to you.
And it's not necessarily a statement about the condition of you or them or the relationship or something. It doesn't have to be that.
Right.
I mean, I think we've all had the experience maybe of assuming something about somebody, like you're thinking this, and it's completely not that.
Oh, yeah.
Or you were doing this, and that's not true either.
Right.
Where we've made assumptions that are, who knows where we came up with them, but when we really know something, nothing actually was really offensive.
Yeah.
I do believe that when the truth is completely all out there, you'd be hard-pressed to find a situation where somebody actually felt hurt or taken advantage of by another.
I think so. Because if you're straight honest, genuinely honest, like there's no misperception.
And if that person is genuinely honest, like, yeah, I'm being selfish, or yeah, I'm being whatever, so that they can handle that. I mean, when people are really real about what's me and what's you, where do I end, where do you begin? I don't think we offend each other.
I don't get offended by you. I love it. I think it's a very respectful thing.
I think so too.
To give somebody boundaries, because that says, here's where I'm at and this is my capacity. Just don't go past that. And that's the best thing you can handle somebody, because then there's no second guess. There's no, did I go too far? There's no, where do I stand with this?
Right.
Right. And I love that. I love when people tell me exactly what they want instead of me finding out on accident later and then going like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh.
Like, look how much you failed to provide what I want.
Yeah. Exactly. I love it.
Yeah. Who do you really attribute that miscommunication to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's
because you're attributing it to me, which is real interesting.
Right. But it's in no way. Yeah. I love it. I love that you're honest. I love that we have a really straightforward And this is what I ideally want with everybody that I choose to interact with, is for them to, if I'm just like I'm not doing this, they don't take it in a way that means I'm less important. You know, they take it in a way that goes, John is just not, he does not have the capacity at this time. And they understand completely. Yeah. You know, luckily, I think most people that I communicate with do. They just go, you're the busiest guy that I know. Take some time to yourself. Yeah. Breathe. And whenever I hear that, it's very encouraging to me because I feel like, I don't have to do something for you that I don't want to do.
Have you ever noticed that the more you actually understand why you're saying no and that people are less offended, the more you understand it?
I think so. Yeah.
You know, what comes from our energy when we're saying no for truly, this is the rightest thing for me.
Yeah.
I don't think the energy that comes from us is a selfish thing. I think the energy that comes from us really is more along the lines of, this is what I'm made of today. I have this much of this quality and this much of this quality. It looks like you need this much and I don't have it.
Yeah.
And rather than like trying to all of that up, you know, it's better probably right now, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
This is where for this this holiday for the store, that's the biggest thing is I love doing social events, but I can't do them all. They're very draining for me. I love them, but it's a lot of work and effort that goes into planning a lot of different variables because I have to pay employees when I'm not there, and if employees are doing the events for me, I got to pay them for being there, and it's a very complicated situation that I think does not often get acknowledged, but balancing them out properly where it's like I'll do these 2 events and I will make the concession and pay this person to go do this event for me because I can't. And learning how to do that has been extremely good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot better about finding the proper sort of delegation. So that's been nice. Having a supportive family helps a lot too, because every time I've talked to them about it, they're just like they know, they understand, and it's been great.
Yeah.
That helps a
ton. Nobody's like, well, me. Nobody.
Not my family. They've been great.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they've been great.
That's a blessing.
I know. Thank goodness. It's wonderful. And then I get to see my dad tomorrow, which is always one of the highlights of my week. Every Friday.
Chester.
Yeah, Chestum. His new name. The Chinese guy's hat's breaking a little bit. It's fixed now. I fixed it. Chinese people are very easy to repair. What? You ever fixed one? I don't think so.
Well, they're not very durable, so it's good they're so easy to repair. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty good.
Well.
How you feeling right now?
Good.
I feel good too. I feel very, very comfortable because I think after like a month of not doing this, I was just like, where am I mentally? Because you're a good barometer for me.
What do you mean?
Like, you help me gauge where I'm actually at very well, because I think I'm an overthinker. Being part of a creative mind means the things that like I project in my head aren't necessarily accurate. And so it's good for me to talk to you and you say, well, this is what I think of this. And I go, oh, that makes sense because I think that's actually where I'm at versus where I thought I was because I analyze things in a different way. And so it's nice to see that I'm not doing nearly as, I don't want to say I was doing terrible, but I was in a spot where I thought I was having a lot more struggle than I think I was. I just wasn't assessing things properly, and you simplified it for me. So that's nice.
It's a perspective thing.
Yeah. That's why I like your perspective. Even though it's dumb and I disagree with it 100% of the time, I think it's really nice to have it anyway, just so I can feel smarter.
Yep.
Don't you just agree with it?
What do you want me to say to that?
I want you to.
What do you prefer I say to that?
Something cool.
What would it constitute? What would be a cool answer?
Like a motorcycle.
Give me an example. Like, model this for me. Roll, like,
tell me what I want.
Why don't you write me a script, and I'll recite it.
Will you actually give it to me? I'll know it's not genuine if I have to give you the script.
I'll make sure that you know it's not genuine if it's not.
Say, that sounds wicked. Ooh, and like make like an explosion noise.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Like be like really like. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't want you to have to do anything. I like what you do, and I like that you're genuine. And I like that you tell me if I'm being an idiot or if I'm being good, smart.
You're being good.
Being good boy. Yeah, exactly. if I didn't poop on the carpet.
If you don't poop on the carpet, you're being good.
Revolver is not good. She pooped on the carpet while we were in here doing this for the first hour.
Man.
Yeah, I went and cleaned it up while like the internet was loading back up.
Doesn't it just make you sometimes want to stop feeding them so they have no poop to do?
Yes. No, I love her so much, but all I want to do is like hang her from the rafters and like shoot her with arrows to show her that she's not supposed to do that.
Pinata.
Yeah, I want to make candy spill out of her intestines.
She doesn't have candy. She's got something else.
That's true. She has poop.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love her. I would never harm her, but it's a very difficult thing to communicate with a cat because they don't speak English. Mine don't anyway.
You're still...
Mine doesn't speak English. Yeah, she's a Russian blue, so she speaks Russian.
Oh.
And I'm learning. I actually don't know any
That
Russian.
actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Like if I were to talk to Joseph Stalin.
She seems Russian.
She is. Yeah. She has like the cool little like the fuzzy boots.
What is Larry?
Oh,
he's got some Persian.
Yeah, he's 60% Persian, 40% Finnish.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Prince of Persia.
He's the Prince of Persia. That's a code name for the devil. What?
Later, if you watch this,
Yeah.
you hear yourself say that, you're gonna laugh really hard.
I hope so. I do.
That
Do you know what actually what I do with these?
Hmm.
And I still I told you the other week that I gush about you.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I
You
want to
did tell me
discuss.
that.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend about just how you're basically the best thing ever. And
You're so nice.
no, I'm mean. I'm rude. But there's like a couple different things that I
It's the
do.
meanest thing anybody's ever said
Is
to
it
me.
that you're rude? Or that I'm rude?
That I'm the best thing ever.
Well, yeah.
Nobody's ever been so...
Like mean as in like most average, like mathematically the mean.
That's the main thing I hear.
Oh, cool. No, oftentimes what I'll do,
I hear 10 feedbacks a day.
10 feedbacks a day, and if you average them all out,
That's what the
you hear you're the best thing ever is on average. That's pretty good. That's some good marks.
Sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I oftentimes do listen to our podcast when I go to bed, like that night or like the next night. I'll put it on and listen to it because I like to hear it objectively and be like, oh, I wish I would have rephrased that, or oh, I had a different understanding of something, or like. Oftentimes, what I really enjoy doing is going back and listening to old things, interactions that we have, because when you respond to something, I try to respond the same way I think I'm going to in the podcast, but genuinely. So I want to know, will I phrase my response the same to you? Will I ask a follow-up question the same? How much of it is dependent on my general mind frame or just that moment?
You know what I notice when I listen or watch?
What's that?
Is I'll hear myself talking, or I'll hear you talking, and I'll have this memory of exactly what I wanted to say at that time, and I'll be like, wow, I totally forgot to say that, or I hear myself talking, and I'm like, I remember that I thought I was going to this, but I didn't. Look where I
That's
did go.
interesting.
Yeah, where because I have in my head, you know, I have points that I'm at, and I have things that I'm feeling, and sometimes I actually go to them, and sometimes I don't know where I went.
That's interesting to think about. Like, you know, you had like a thought in mind, but then it gets slightly derailed, and then boom, that
Yeah.
does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
You just go someplace else completely.
Yeah, I've totally noticed that.
That's kind of cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, alternate universes.
I think it's kind of fascinating how I can listen and remember what I was thinking.
That is impressive,
That's neat to me.
especially from weeks ago, months
That's
ago at this point.
That's really interesting to me. But if you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense, really, because that's what we're doing all the time with anything we do. You know, I can look at myself in a situation that usually makes me mad, and I could probably tell you what I would most likely be thinking and responding to. You know what I mean? Like, these things aren't really secrets in a way. They were my closest thing in my mind at the time. So it's burned into my memory. When you said that, that's what I was thinking at that time.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of neat.
I think it's a very important thing to go back and listen to yourself. I mean, you know, record yourself having a conversation with somebody, because even a week later, you can go back and listen to it and see, am I in the same spot, or how would I analyze my response to the scenario?
Yeah.
And you sort of get to you know, psychoanalyze yourself in a way. And do I still believe that answer?
Another thing I've noticed too, I can tell when I'm watching where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I wasn't listening at all. I can see it all over me. John was talking and I was somewhere else.
You were just that's fair.
I can see that sometimes.
That's cool too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or when I'm talking and I'm like, John's not listening, I can see it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how cool this marker is. I'm just like, oh,
well, it happens.
Way better than Michelle. It does, yeah. And there's nothing to be offended by.
This is way better than Michelle.
Yeah, she was talking about some gas gauge or whatever, and I don't even give a shit.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. I think it's a fair allowance to make as well, too, to be like, I'm not listening. There have been times where we've been talking, and you just say, I don't care. And then you just want to change the subject to like talk to something else. Completely, you've done that before. And I just, okay, you know, because it's honest and it doesn't hurt me. If I was like, you know, maybe like the middle of like a really deep monologue about how sad I am that like, you know, my grandpa passed away or something, and you're like, you know, maybe that's insensitive, but at the same time, like, it's still so honest that I can't exactly fault it. You've said that before.
No.
Yeah, we've been watching like a TV show and just idly chatting, and it was like, John, I don't care. You've said that before, and I respect it because it doesn't bother me. Because if you don't care, I don't want to talk about it.
It doesn't offend me when somebody tells me that either, though.
That's interesting.
No, not at all. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm yakking away and if I'm yakking away, like Dan falls asleep.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking?
Mm-hmm. And I notice that it doesn't make me stop.
Yeah.
I continue to talk because what I'm really feeling is I want to hear what I have to say. Like I'm getting something out of this explanation that I'm doing. I'm getting something out of this exploration that I'm doing, and you may or may not even be conscious for it. Mm-hmm. But you know, if you are, then maybe you like it, and if you're not, then I still, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've noticed that. I've noticed that about me lately too, a lot with him because he falls asleep most of the time when I'm talking.
That's actually really cool because it gives you a chance to be honest with yourself. Are you talking for this person to hear you, or are you talking because you just need to like have it out there?
Well, am I trying to convince you to think or listen to me, or am I, you know, meeting myself in every moment, like introducing myself in every moment?
Right.
You know, really, I think that's what we're doing all the time. How do I feel in this? What do I think about this? Mm-hmm. How am I treating this person?
Right.
You know, I think that our strongest vantage point is to look out from where we're at, not try to look at ourselves from over here. Mm-hmm. You know, I really don't think that's the strongest that we can be. I think that to care more about how we feel than really than anything else is the best we can do for another person too. Because if I make sure that I don't do anything out of resentment, then I'm not doing anything that would harm anybody either.
Right.
You know, like if my space that I'm coming from is always genuine and always authentically wanting to give, then there's no taking that I'm doing.
Right.
None at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that you've instilled the concept of a give and a take in how people interact with each other. You know, what I've noticed, the concept of being on the take. Once you introduced that to me several years ago, it was always something that was on my mind for when you don't provide something to somebody and they get upset.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many ways it's shown. You know, sometimes it's very much like, well, why don't you want to help me? Or why don't you want to do this with me? Why I can't, you know? And the variety of ways people express that. Mm-hmm. And once you threw that out there, it's something that I noticed a lot. And even, you know, in myself instinctively at times, I'd be like, whoa, that hurts me because you didn't do the thing I wanted, which internally makes me reel and go, oh, shoot, I don't want to do that. I don't want to ask that of somebody.
Yeah.
So I've caught myself being there because instinctively, you know, instilled after 35 years of life, there are times when it still comes up. I almost flipped somebody off to drive. I actually didn't do it. I didn't almost do it. But I thought about it because I watched somebody take a big turn, almost hit somebody else, and then do a U-turn in the middle of the road at night while it was raining. And my window was down. And so badly, I just felt like it felt good to flip that guy off because he needs to know what he did was bad. And I didn't do it. I wasn't ever going to. I wasn't even close to doing it. But
I need you to know you're bad.
Because I thought about, this guy should know that. But then I thought, well, he didn't hit anybody. You know? And not that I want him to get away with it, but like, it was a really interesting, I was on the way home from work tonight. I thought about that. And I don't ever get like road rage. I wasn't even genuinely mad, but I felt like this guy should get flipped off. If I don't do it, somebody else should, because he did something that almost, you know, hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
It was a really weird feeling. Really weird, this sort of like latent things that are always sort of.
Do you ever, I don't categorize this as on the take.
Okay.
So, okay, you remember when I was moving in over there and I needed to paint, and like my family member that only cares about me when he needs something didn't help me,
Yes.
didn't show up. And remember, I called you one day and I was like, I think I was in tears. And I was like, I need to do this and I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
And you came over and you were like, we're going to do this and we're going to take care of it. And,
Yeah.
you just jumped at it. And this is something I notice about myself and the way that I'll operate about things is I called you. I mean, I do call you and ask for things.
Sure.
Or, I really do.
Yeah.
And if you had not been available that day, I would have been zero upset with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, and this is just an honest confession, I know that I can get you if I'm upset.
Yeah, you can.
If I'm crying or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, John will go for this.
Mm-hmm.
John will take this bait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like and if you can't and if you don't want to, I don't want you to. I certainly don't. But I definitely play up. What are my chances of getting this done? And not just with you. I mean, I do that with everybody. I do that with my boss. I do that everywhere.
Yeah.
Like where I'll contour or configure how I present something or how I look when I say something because I'm really working to elicit something.
If you're requesting something, you want the best request presentation. Highest chances of success? Why do you do it?
Self-service.
Self-service, okay. Well, self-service is the highest chance of request is how do I get somebody to be more likely to do this for me? So you present it the best way possible.
I present it the best way to get them to do it for me.
Right.
I don't know if that's always the best way.
Well, yeah, it's the best possible outcome for your request.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've gotten really good at it. Like, I'm pretty manipulative.
So did you ever go to McDonald's and just, like, unzip your shirt and be like, chicken nuggets, and then start crying? Yeah.
Do you want to go later? I'll get you some.
Yeah, but I'd love some free nuggets. Yeah, at your expense.
Yeah. But later.
Yeah, exactly. Your mascara, like, drips down into your boobs.
Mm-hmm.
And, my boyfriend just got stabbed. I'll be in the back like, oh. Like, yeah. You can do that.
Okay.
And I'm really hungry.
We can do it.
And we can't afford a hospital, and he's hungry too.
We can't afford a hospital. Give me some chicken nuggets.
I don't know if we're supposed to be talking about how to play the system on the podcast, but this is what we're doing, right?
We're giving it all away.
Exactly. Yeah, these are the secrets that they don't want you to know.
What's your take on that? On the manipulative streak?
I think everybody does it. I think everybody has a way of when they want something, they request it in a way that they're most likely to get it.
Can you see it when it happens? Have you ever been able to see that from me?
No, I've never thought about it.
Really?
No. I mean, because if you've ever requested something and I have the opportunity to give it, I'll give it. I don't, that simply, again, being around you is good for me and I like spending time with you. So it's never a burden for me to be like, oh, she's your house paid. Well, I wanted to watch Netflix. Well,
that day in particular, you were really, really busy. And I knew it. You had somewhere to be in like a couple of hours.
Oh, that evening, yeah.
You had something going on. I can't remember what it was, but you had something going on, and I was like, it wasn't just that I wanted you to do, because I knew you would.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted you to want to. And I know that if I seem like I need rescuing, you'll be really likely to just want to. You love white knighting.
Yeah, I do. I'll admit that.
So I've played on that.
You've manipulated me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And my definition of manipulation isn't actually like a sinister thing. It's more, how do I contour and influence? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not necessarily that I want anybody at anybody's expense. I don't want anything from anybody at their own expense.
Sure.
I don't want that at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if I can have both, somebody doesn't lose anything and they feel good about it,
mm-hmm.
and I get it.
Yeah. Like, you weren't asking me to, like, smuggle drugs in through my butt to the border.
No, I've been thinking of a good way to trick you into that one.
If somebody puts something in my butt and then we have to go on a road trip.
I'll just cry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody really needs this heroin. Yeah, and I'm like, all right.
We need it. We need more heroin.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I do like being an acts of service person. That's very much, something that I truly, legitimately, I do enjoy it so much, And if the opportunity is there, if like the timing is right, if like the season is good, like I don't feel that it extends past my ability to be there for it in any way.
You're right. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking now that's how you do it. You give sometimes that way. Like sometimes you'll use your greatest strength for that.
I think, everybody has a way of doing it.
I think you're right.
Everybody's got a technique. And I certainly don't want to obligate people. I don't like making people feel like they have to. This is where I want people to say no to me. I want people to say no if they don't want to do it. Just like I want people to say no to people and I have a hard time with it. I want people to say no if they don't want to do it. But I love it when people choose to. Because like it is, again, that sort of that statement earlier about picking somebody's brain. Networking needs to be a mutual exchange.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool when two people can choose to provide something for each other. If somebody doesn't want to, I don't want them to. But when somebody chooses to, because that's like what we've established with each other, I think it's great.
Yeah, that symbiosis. Yeah. If you like the lunch date thing that you had read off.
Yeah.
If somebody were to call you and they needed something and it was like very, very much that kind of thing that you're talking about, like asking me for things. And they said, I'm needing this, I'm wanting this, I'm hoping I can pick your brain. Can I buy you lunch? If the offer is like, I'm aware I'm asking something of you that you don't have to give me.
Right.
Because that sort of inherently says that.
Yeah.
I'm asking something of you that might be quite a bit to ask of you.
Right.
So can I do that? I'm happy to buy you lunch if I do.
Yeah.
Then it really kind of communicates still a respect.
Yeah. I'm not just taking from you. I still want to offer something to you.
Yeah.
And I like to do that for people. For people that come and help me at the store, I'll buy you dinner. I will buy you pizza. I will give you free things. And people even turn that down, but I'm like, no. If you've provided the service for me, I will give back to you. I will, because you didn't have to do any of this for me, so I will do something in exchange.
I wonder what it is that we are easily uncomfortable feeling appreciated.
Yeah. It's like we feel guilty about it.
No, interesting.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy me. You don't have to give me that. You don't have to do that.
But I'll do it anytime you want. You've told me to go buy food for you, and I just did it.
Yep.
Like several dozen items. And I love it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't ever mind, though.
Well, and it's really not a take thing.
No,
I mean, if you said,
I don't view it as that.
Well, if you said no, I'm not
going to do the podcast tonight, John.
No.
I'm not coming over.
No,
if you don't get me Twizzlers, I'm going to sit at home and just stew in my own hatred. Never happened.
No.
Never happened. Not going to either.
Well, because what goes through my head if you say no is like, yeah, I probably wouldn't either.
Sure. There's honesty. Yeah. And I don't feel as if you're taking advantage of me by any means. I just feel like, you know what? This will be fun, and we can sit here and snack together while we talk. So it's enjoyable.
You didn't get me any snacks.
No, I haven't been grocery shopping in a while.
I said I didn't want you to.
Well, I didn't want to. I didn't want you to eat tonight. Yeah. I want you to feel sick. Do you?
You probably should have gotten me something I'm allergic to.
What are you allergic to?
Nothing I'm aware of.
I guess I should have. I should have guessed. Yeah. I don't know. Shellfish?
I don't know because
Michellefish?
Yuck, because I don't like seafood.
I don't really either. I like shrimp. That's like the only kind.
Ugh, that's gross.
It's the best seafood. I don't like fish though.
Roaches.
That's okay. They have roaches with delicious plump ass booties. Yeah. Filled with some sort of salty meat. I don't know.
Salty? Ew, I don't want to.
Because it's from the ocean.
Yeah, it doesn't taste salty. It tastes like shit.
Shit's salty. Slightly salted. Yeah.
Slightly salted.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gross.
Mm-hmm.
Girls are gross.
Yeah.
Girls have salty poop. Boys have peppery poop.
Peppery poop.
Yeah. It's good for your remembering glands. Yeah.
That was my remember gland.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard pepper is actually supposed to be good for your memory. Pepper and fish, which sucks because fish sucks. But Oh well. That's why I forget everything. I don't eat fish. Is that true?
Fish is gross.
Yeah. It's the only like food to me that tastes or smells just as bad on the plate in front of me as it does freshly pulled out of the ocean with a hook in its mouth.
Yeah, me too.
It does not. There's no distinction. Except for like it's on a plate instead. No, it makes me feel like I want to throw up. Sorry to anybody who likes fish.
Why are you apologizing?
I'm sorry that they like fish.
Yeah, I'm sorry you like fish.
I'm sorry that you're lesser.
I'm sorry that you eat things that smell terrible.
No, I don't actually mean that ever. I don't apologize. Eat fish. Like what you like. I want everybody to like what they like. I want everybody to enjoy what they enjoy unapologetically forever.
Ever and ever.
Forever and ever. I feel good though. I feel good. I'm just having
It's good to check in.
rough couple months or mostly weeks really, because like the last month was good, but this recent month was just sort of, it was overwhelming and a lot was going on, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and every time of year that like October is approaching, I get noticeably more on edge. And this is good for me because I think it really helps me curb that, getting a chance to talk to you and having an outlet for it. Because if I hold things in, I don't often realize it. And I think during that stress, it can come out and people go, what the hell's wrong with John? And I'm just like, holy crap, I didn't know until somebody approached me, because when you're in it, you don't see that. Right. You're in the cloud. You just don't realize. Yeah. So this is why I think this is actually a very good thing to do. And even if it's been a couple weeks, I have no problem with that. I'm glad that right now the opportunity has arisen for both of us to be able to do so.
Me too. It felt right tonight.
Good.
How does the chat thing work?
I don't know where people go to chat on this, because since it's like a new format now, it's no longer done through Google, it's done through YouTube. I do not know where the chat function is. So if somebody could figure it out and tell me, I'll forget next week and you can remind me again. I promise that's what'll happen.
Cool.
Yeah,
what time is it?
Pretty cool. It's almost 10:30. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and call it.
Yeah, I'm getting up early.
Time of death,
I'm glad to be back,
p.m.
and I'm also glad to not do a real long one tonight.
I am too. I think it's good to ease back in.
Plus, I want to hang out and hear, like, I want to hang out with you.
Yeah, we'll do a quick little after party that you guys will have to wonder about.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Pretend that we're just snowboarding.
This is what we're going to do. We're going to sit and talk.
Actually, we'll probably just sit, exactly right here, just with the camera on.
Exactly what happened.
Exactly. Yeah, but thank you guys, and in spite of my podcast or my Facebook being off, we'll still do the podcast. I'll still have access to it through the other profile. It's funny, I mentioned this whole big long thing. I was like, hey, I'm going to be off of Facebook. I'm going to have a private profile simply for the sake of being on here, but not for messaging, not for talking, not for communication in any other way. And then like I get like 5 friend requests on it. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Sorry, it's not going to happen. But I think people just wanted to be like, hey, I'm still here. And I'll be back. Yeah, this is not a permanent thing. I think it's just as long as it's necessary.
I've been on a Facebook hiatus for a while now.
Yeah, a couple months.
I really like being off Facebook.
I think it's good.
I like it so much.
Yeah, I actually wish I could. Well, I'm going to. And I still have a way to circumvent, the necessity of it for the sake of keeping on top of what I need to business-wise. And that's good. That's what I wanted to do, and I found a good way to do it. So
I always open mine up again snowboarding season just because I want to. There's a couple forums, not forums, pages that I get to know some different stuff. It's the easiest place to get updates for snow stuff for me.
That's good. Yeah, and there's a couple pages I want to subscribe to as well, so I can get my news feed. So I can copy and paste and share things with the community.
Yeah.
And, it's the business necessity only. It will not be used for personal anything. I'll still have Instagram. I'll still have, I guess Instagram. I don't tweet. I don't really Snapchat.
Do you have a Snapchat?
I have one. I never, ever, ever use it. I've never remembered to. Like, it doesn't occur to me. But.
Alrighty.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back again. When we do, it might be next week. It might be the following week. Who knows? But, we'll keep you informed. Week. Okay. Perfect.
Probably.
If everything works out, then we will. Thank you guys for watching. Love you all.
Bye.
And have a good night. Thank you so much. Good night. Good night.